Well, thank you for staying on, everyone. We continue now with your reporting, beginning with the story at South African Airways. Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan says cash-strapped South African Airways doesn't have enough money to pay salaries at the end of the month. And he was briefing the Portfolio Committee of Public Enterprises earlier on today. Gordhan's comments come as the national carrier and unions meet to try and resolve a wage hike impasse. The minister maintained salary increases are unaffordable.
As much as possible, we will encourage all of the parties, notwithstanding some difficulties that they had late into the night yesterday, to get back to the negotiating table. I've just been informed as I was walking to this room that all sides have agreed to a mediator. So a mediator will come into operation soon, today, and look at finding an amicable solution. The challenge that we have, Chair, is that we don't have as much cash as we need in SAA, or not we, but SAA doesn't have enough cash to possibly even pay salaries at the end of the month if we don't get this act going. So not only are people not going to get increases, they might not even get their salaries. Even if they agree to some kind of increase, there's no cash available now. Right. So they'll have to come to some understanding about what is paid when, and when money is available to actually pay it as well.
The South African Cabin Crew Association says South African Airways has declared war on them. The union vowed to intensify its strike and says there's no bad feeling against members who have returned to work. Meanwhile, SATAWU, the Aviation Union of Southern Africa, and Solidarity have been allowed to participate in the retrenchment process at South African Airways. Let's discuss that now. We're joined in the studio by Zanele Sabela, who speaks on behalf of the South African Transport and Allied Workers Union. So Zanele, it's good to see you. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having us.
You are the majority union at South African Technical. We're hearing today that South African Airways has been served with a notice for a secondary strike by air chefs. Are you joining?
That's an interesting question. Okay, so here's how it works. Like you say, SATAWU, along with AUSA and Solidarity, have a coalition at SAA Technical that makes us a majority. So the strike that's currently happening is at SAA Corporate, where NUMSA, SACA, and NTM are the majority. We have been, involved in wage negotiations at SAA Technical.
Right.
And those have been also not going so well. We were initially offered 0% increase. We went to the CCMA last week where they upped the offer to 5.9%. And they said on condition management can actually have operational cost cuts that would fund but then today we sat in a meeting where they offered us the exact offer that SAA has had. The one that says 5.9, but then the back pay for the increase would be paid in March next year, and the first 6 months, and then the next 6 months would be paid in April. So early indications are that members are not happy, although we'll be holding meetings tomorrow to see how they feel about it.
You've got a strike certificate in hand right now, which allows you to go on strike on the 22nd of November, which is this Friday.
After the 22nd.
After the 22nd.
2nd of November.
So when are you going to make a decision on whether you're striking or not?
So tomorrow we meet the members and we see how they feel about it, and then we ballot. And then we'll be able to tell at that point whether we'll be going on strike or not. But what the minister has said this afternoon just makes things a bit more difficult.
As there's just not as much money at SAA as they would like to have, even to pay salaries at the end of this month.
But now that's an interesting one, because there are people like at SAA Technical, they haven't been on strike. They've been working, and so this is why some of what was said by the other unions in terms of the safety of the flights was terribly unfair to the people that work at Technical, who are there, who are the majority, who are at work at that point in time. But people who have been working shouldn't have their salaries withheld. So that is a bit of a new one, an interesting one, and we'll see how to handle that one. But yeah, so obviously we're now getting into the area where we're playing hardball.
Yeah. Do you think they were negotiating in bad faith? That means that is NUMSA and the South African Cabin Crew Association,
No.
when they mentioned that there are people who are unqualified who are fixing the planes. We know that the Aviation Authority has come out to say, but that's not true.
Well, that was unfortunate. That was unfortunate, and we have mentioned in our statements that, you know, that was really unfortunate because we do not want to damage the credibility of SAA and, in turn, the credibility of the country by, you know, making such unsubstantiated statements. However, if we are to talk about, you know, negotiating in bad faith, we would say that the company started off first by when they said to us the Friday 2 weeks ago, when they said to us that, you know, if with the current negotiations happening, if we went on strike, the company is in such a bad state that it would have to close down. And then come the Monday, then all of a sudden they tell the media without telling us that they are thinking of retrenchments. They have a restructure plan and 944 people, you know, might lose their jobs. It's hard to believe that they worked that out over the weekend. So in terms of bad faith, yeah, there's been a lot of that.
The minister has also said, speaking in New York, that we are willing to take hard decisions as far as SAA is concerned. In fact, going on to say SAA is not too big to fail. Do you get a sense that they want SAA to fail at this particular point?
The thing about it is, the truth of the matter is Minister Gordon has wanted to privatize SAA for years now. I mean, there were times when he was finance minister and then he wasn't, but throughout he kept on saying. So in terms of that, you know, and also the Minister of Finance, the current Minister of Finance has actually said that, you know, he could close it off. But it employs 5,000 people. At a time when our unemployment rate is the highest in 11 years, should we really be throwing 5,000 people out in the streets?
Should we really be keeping 944 people when we can't even pay salaries right now?
That is a new one, I've said to you. We will engage on that. For people who moved from 0% to 5.9%, and now all of a sudden can't pay this month's salary.
Well, the 5.9 is conditional. It's on condition that they actually restructure and they do save some money and find money to actually pay those increases.
But here's the thing, the restructure program, you cannot, in a situation where you actually have unions, all of a sudden decide on a restructure plan all by yourself, not talk to the unions about it, not share it with them, and then decide on a number on who to let go. So in terms of that, we went to the CCMA yesterday as SATAWU, AUSA, and Solidarity to say we need to be in that conversation where they are consulting. And so the first meeting is due on this coming Monday, on the 25th, where we will be talking about that. And imagine, we actually had to fight because first they told the media, and then they sent notices to some unions and not to all of us. And so we had to take a stand and went to the CCMA. Luckily, the CCMA said, you know, these people have to be included along with workers who are not.
Does the retrenchment process actually involve your members as well?
Exactly, they are members. They are members of SATAWU, AUSA, and Solidarity, who we were supposed to be left out in the cold. So that doesn't quite work like that. We have a very strong Labor Relations Act in this country, which the Minister of Finance helped draft.
Well, I mean, the scope also includes consultation with non-organized workers, which is also a bonus.
Critical.
So the CCMA quite adamant that they also should be involved in this consultation process.
Certainly, certainly. You can imagine if you don't belong to a union and your fate is being decided and you don't even have a voice, that would be terribly unfair. So in terms of that, the CCMA seriously needs to be commended.
Now, in terms of the restructuring, what is the view of SATAWU, maybe even the coalition itself? Is it something that you're open to? Because SAA is saying it's inevitable if we're really going to keep the airline flying at this particular point.
We need to look into it. share it with us. We need to look into it, and then we can start to then talk about options. What do we do with these 944? What options? What can we bring to the table? And funny enough, the where we have a majority coalition, SAA Technical, they said SAA Technical wouldn't have any retrenchments. So in terms of SAA, they need to sit us down. We need to work on it together. They can't just do that by themselves, although they are management, but they have stakeholders, and this is why you have stakeholders.
Final one, after a meeting with the minister yesterday, apparently an amount of 6.5%, an increase of 6.5% was kind of branded a bad and was quickly retracted, which of course made NUMSA quite upset at this particular point. Would your members be open to that 6.5%?
You know, we don't have written confirmation of the 6.5. So in terms of that, I think NUMSA would be best placed to comment on that.
Thank you so much. Thanks for coming. I appreciate your time and for joining us this evening. Well, after the break, Mark Lewis will be talking to Mzansi Super League Cricket, SA CEO Thabo Mdluli, and he'll be telling you a little bit more about what's happening to that league that's seemingly struggling at the moment. That when your reporting continues here on News at Prime.